Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. I just did that.
You want me to? I got you. I'm Sam Healey.
All right, anyhow, today we're taking a look at XCom, the board game. Now, when it comes to video games, XCom is in my top 2 or 3. XCom, back in the day,
5, yeah.
I haven't played the new one much. I played it a little bit. You played the new one a lot.
I've played the new one, and I've played the expansion to the new one, the Enemy Within, and rock.
Yeah, it's really an amazing game where you go through and you control aliens are attacking Earth, and you are trying to stop them, and you send out ships and missions, and then it takes you in, focuses up on one of those missions, and you take guys in and fight. Yeah. XCOM, the board game, is a game that's known for a couple things. One, that it's taking the license of this very popular video game.
Yes.
It's a cooperative game. It's also known because it uses the iPad or some sort of device. You can use a computer, whatever, but that's required. You must have it to play this game. Let's take a look at it, and we'll be back. Now, the way you play this game is you're going to be setting this board up, and you're going to be trying to stop the aliens. Now, this game can be 3 or 4 players, and if you play, there's actually 4 roles of the game. One player will be sitting on each side of the board. So over here, the scientist will sit. Over here, the commander sits over here. Here you have the communications officer, and over here you have the tactical officer. And each of them is going to have a very specific role. Now, I'm not going to go over every single role in this game, but I want to give you kind of a feel. Down here, and these are going to start differently for each game, are the different continents. There's 6 continents, and each continent is providing funding, or basically on how afraid they are. So as they get over here, they're starting to get more feared, and when they come over here, they're in total panic. And if 2 of them gets over here to total panic, then you will lose the game. To win the game, you're going to be picking a starting mission at the beginning of the game that you have to defeat to win the game. And there's also going to be other missions that are going to be showing up that you have to usually beat several of these first before you can go to your final mission. Now, the whole game is based around an electronic device. This device can be an iPhone or a computer. For our purposes, we're going to be using the iPad here. And so you can see here I have XCOM, the board game app. And in fact, if you want to learn the rules for this game, you're going to need to learn those from the board game itself. This is the setup, but this will tell you how to play. So you press play, you see how many players you're playing in the game. Now, I mentioned 3 or 4. You can play with fewer players, you just have to each take more than one role. So let's say we're playing a full 4-player game, and then we pick how easy. Now, if you want to, you can play the tutorial, which will tell you everything you need to know. It explains each thing here very clearly. It's essentially the rules on how to play, and as you go through it, we'll tell you what to do. But let's say you want to play a normal game, so we'll play normal. Okay, so we pick the normal level. You can be a fool and press expert. I think the iPad burns your finger if you do that. And then you press next, and you pick what invasion plan you want to do. This is the thing the mission you have to fulfill to win the game. And then it will tell you setup. There's going to be certain aliens. There's different aliens in the game. These are the ones that will be used, and you'll build a deck out of those alien cards to start the game. It will also tell you where your headquarters are. In this game, they're going to be in Asia. It will show you the starting panic levels. You see Africa and Australia are not doing so hot, so you'll set those up. And then you'll start the game and begin round 1. Now, the way a round works here is you'll notice there's a timer here at the bottom. And this timer gets ready, get set, go. And then the communication officer who has this, he is going to basically tell everybody what to do. And so here, new technology is available, and so the chief scientist is going to do something with technology. Now you'll notice that I paused the game here, but it's going to resume in so many seconds here. So you can't like just pause the game and cheat and keep going. See, it already started pausing, Pause is now disabled. So different things are going to happen. When the chief technology is done, then the budget comes and there's credits for that. And then we can assign research. And each time that you press done, you'll add some more time to your pause button. Now, if you play in a basic level, you don't have to worry about the pause buttons. Every once in a while, UFOs will show up. So we pause the game and we say, oh, a UFO showed up in space, in orbit around the globe. And one showed up here in Australia. One showed up in North America. Sometimes a crisis card will come up. The commander then has to draw 2 crisis cards and look and see which one they think is the less worse. And they're going to put that one down here to play. Enemies will show up and you'll draw an enemy card from the deck and place it into the base. And so all this stuff is being done at the same time. Choose a mission. The tactical player will go through and pick a mission. Sometimes a mission will come with aliens and he has to pick which mission he thinks can be accomplished. Deploy squads in a mission. He'll have different warriors of different types and he'll be able to send those out onto the mission, hopefully that they can beat the mission. The emergency funding, at the beginning of the game, you'll get a certain amount of funding each round, and you have to spend it that round. Emergency funding lets you take from your reserves if you need to. More crisis. Research. The scientist has research cards that they will be drawing over the course of the game. At the beginning, they'll draw some cards, and they'll be assigning scientists to these research. If they successfully complete these research cards, they will give special abilities to the other players. I'm trying to help. Deploy satellites. The communication officer will decide to deploy satellites up into orbit to fight off the aliens who are there. More UFOs are showing up here. Another one shows up in orbit. Another one shows up in Asia. Deploy interceptors. Here, the commander will send out interceptors to different spots on the board to fight off the UFOs in those spots. Defend a base. This is where the tactical officer, there's aliens in the base. He'll send troops there to defend the base. More research from the scientists. And then we end the time phase. Whew. Okay. The first thing you do in resolution phase is the commander audits the budget. Now this is important because for every satellite that was put out, for every troop that was sent out, for every plane that was sent out, and for every scientist that was applied, you need to have enough money to do those. You get a certain amount of budget, and if you're over budget, you're in trouble, and you take consequences with these panic modes going up, and otherwise you just spend that amount of money. You then can buy more. You see here, and there's a pool in the middle of the table where you can buy more soldiers and more interceptors for future turns, and you're going to have to because likely they're going to die. Then the commander will take this pile of crises cards that they built during the round, and they'll go through them one at a time, doing each one. So, for example, this one here says, increase panic in Africa by 1. Move all the satellites in orbit to the reserve. Kill a soldier assigned to missions. Yeah, they're not very fun. Then, the chief scientist will do research. And for this point, we're going to pause this, and I want to show you how the scientist does research, how interceptors attack aliens, basically how this entire game works. For this game, you're going to be trying to do different things, and we're going to rotate the board here and show you this track right here. Now, this is called the crisis track, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to get a certain number of dice. So if I sent 2 scientists to this spot, I might get 2 dice. If I sent a certain soldier to go fight an alien, I might get 1 die, or 2 if he matches a certain symbol, or 3 if he's an expert soldier. So let's say I do that. I then need to roll a certain number of successes. If the scientist rolls successes, he'll get his science technology finished. If the tactical officer rolls successes, he will kill aliens. If the communications officer rolls successes, he'll kill these guys in orbit. If this guy rolls successes, he'll kill them. So let's say I'm rolling here, and so I roll, and so I got 2 successes, hooray! And I also rolled a 5. Now the reason this 8-sided die is important is because I look over here, and it's a 1. Now let's say I want to roll and get more successes. I would have to move this up to 2. Since I rolled a 5, I'm okay. But on the next roll, I rolled a 4. Okay, not so bad. And I move this up to 3. And I can roll as many times as I want. But if this number on the red die ever is the same as this number or lower, so a 1 is always bad, of course, then something bad will happen. In the case of a scientist, your scientist gets exhausted and you're done researching with them that turn. In the case of military, your people will die. In the case of interceptors, they will die and blow up. And so you have to be very cautious not to roll these, but you can push your luck and roll the dice as many times as you want. But once it gets to 5, it stays there, and you better keep rolling 6, 7s, and 8s on this 8-sided die. And that's essentially how the game is going to play. I know it's kind of a basic overview, but you're just going to follow it. The app guides you through each turn. You have a time phase, and then you have a time where you're going to be stopping and rolling dice and resolving cards. And when the phase is done, the app will ask you where all these guys are, how many of the different saucers might be in a certain area, and that's going to affect how the next round goes. And you're going to keep going till you either complete a mission, which you'll need a certain number of successes to do, sending out troops on them, or if 2 of these get to the panic level, then you lose. Okay, the first thing is, and Sam was when I showed this to Sam.
It comes with an iPad?
No.
No, it doesn't.
The first thing that Sam was kind of surprised at, I don't know where you finally ended up on this, was XCom is the whole Earth, right? But what you remember the most from XCom are the specific missions where you're going in and shooting aliens. And that's really not part of this game.
Nope.
There's missions in it, but that's kind of like they're very abstracted out.
Very, very abstracted out.
Okay, that didn't bother me. I like the whole idea of the theme, and we already have games like, we already have Level 7 Omega Supreme.
Right, Omega Protocol.
Omega Protocol, which feels, Transformers, which feels like XCOM. So I didn't care that this one's different.
Right.
And this does sort of something that not many other games do. Now, we played a game that you were defending Earth from UFOs before. We played the Level 7 version, Invasion or whatever it was called.
Yeah, I think it's called Level 7 Invasion.
And that was problematic. It was interesting, but problematic. This game is really streamlined on how it works.
Yeah.
It's not hard, and I'm going to start out by saying I love how the tutorial works. I love how it walked us step by step through the game.
Beat you relentlessly.
Yeah. Hey, this is how you play. Okay, but I mean, it walks you through step by step, and I would love if other games had that in.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great if the first time you put out one of those big complicated Euro games and it's like, now you do this and this is why, and that'd be great.
Yeah, that was definitely cool. Talking about while we're there, talking about the app, the digital integration of the game, I think it's a very cool thing. I'm not really, I guess, with some of those people that are against the whole needing an app to play a game now. I think it's really cool. And I think the further along down that road we go, the better. If it stays like what this game has done, where the app is not necessarily intrusive, it just keeps you clipping along at the right pace, I think apps and games can have a very harmonious codependence.
I don't think they need to be in every game. No, I'm not, and I don't think I don't think they're going to be. The people are like, well, what happens if you get a new iOS and blah blah blah, or if you get a new computer? Games also get reprinted in second editions and third editions and such. This game is going to work well and last for a long time in that regard. I liked how it played a little bit of music, although you don't have to have the music if you want to. It kind of keeps things flowing, but it didn't do it at such a frenetic pace. It was like, okay, you need to make a choice, you need to make a choice. Mm-hmm. And if there's one thing the app did, it cut down from pulling cards from all these different decks, which I love. Elder Char and all those games, but you're constantly pulling cards from decks.
Yeah.
And it kept someone from being an alpha gamer. One person couldn't say, hey, you need to do this, because they were busy doing what they needed to do.
Right.
A good example is the commander has to choose between the two different event cards or whatever they were.
That kind of bit us in the butt, though, because...
Well, no, but even if they wanted to talk to everybody else and say, what do you think I should do? They can do that, but you can't sit there and go, look over their shoulder and go, play that card. Yeah, and then I'll do this and you do this, because there's so much going on.
Yeah, exactly.
At the same time, the game does screech to a halt and then allow you to slowly play through the rolling of the dice, which is a lot of the...
Well, you have to, almost.
Well, yeah, but if that part was timed, you'd really hate that, I think.
Yes, I would.
At least there you can roll the dice and sit there and go, should I re-roll again?
Yeah. Look at all your different abilities that you have available to you. What everybody else what everybody else has available to them that could help you. You have to take time to do that. So if it was timed, it would break the game down, I think.
What do you think about that dice rolling mechanism? It's the main focus of the game, probably.
Oh boy. I wish there were more hits on those dice. I wish there were more hits on the dice. That's about all I could. I kind of wish that you could have some.
It is your typical fantasy fight thing, a hit in a 5 or 6.
Yeah. I understand that. But I guess I kind of wish maybe some of the different guys, instead of just adding a dice, I thought it would be cooler to add a special kind of a die that possibly has more hits on it, but only that person can roll it. Maybe it could be an expansion or something like that. I'm okay with the dice mechanic. I'll just short answer there. But
it is unique and it's certainly tense.
Yeah, it's very tense. But see, the thing is, I hope this game does well so that they expand that idea. Playing enemy within the video expansion of the game, I think they have a lot of ability to expand the dice rolling and adding in some special dice that only certain characters or certain kind of mechanized units could bring to the table.
All right, let's talk about the difficulty of the game.
Oh my goodness.
It is really hard. Now I haven't beaten it yet, but I feel like it's beatable on the easy level.
Yeah, it's beatable on the easy level. I don't think the tutorial can be beat.
I don't know if the tutorial is supposed to be beaten.
Oh my goodness. I think the tutorial says this is what you have in store for you. World death.
But the game is certainly a challenge to play.
Very.
And I think I would be very surprised if anyone won this game the first time, because you really have to know how to maximize your position.
Yeah, you do.
And work as a team.
Yeah, and each position has its own nuances to it. So how I maximize as the squad leader is different than how the commander can maximize as the commander. And that's something you have to feel out. So it's almost like to get good at it, you have to play the same role numerous times and then switch and play that role numerous times. And that way you can get better at each of the different kinds of roles. But it's not a brain burner, but it's definitely challenging, and it's definitely not a pushover game. This is a co-op game that you're going to have to work at, kind of. You'll enjoy it, but you have to work at it to beat it. And it's possible, but man alive, is it hard.
Okay, so overall thoughts on this. I think the theme works really well. Yes, it doesn't have to go in and do the missions, but the whole thing does feel like aliens are invading Earth, and it does seem to get worse as time goes by, and you're constantly running into the resource problem, which was certainly something in XCom. You could run out of money in that game and drove you nuts. It doesn't have the save and restart thing that XCom did. I like it. I would put this in a category of cooperative games that I like a lot. Part of it's because of the theme. I don't know that I love it and am raving about it, but I think it's interesting and it works really well together. The things I like best about it are that it really, to me, mitigates the alpha gamer problem where one person tells everyone else what to do. And it also, I felt like all 4 players, and it really is a 4-player game, by the way. I felt like all 4 players had 4 very distinct, different things they were doing, and really fascinating how they fit together. Right. And I think the components and artwork, as usual, just phenomenal for Fantasy Flight. Any downsides are extremely hard, and that might turn people off at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I love the rule book being online and be able to look everything up, and it reminded me of Civilizations books, where you could go to index and everything. And it plays fairly quickly for what it is too. So I would give this 1.5 stolen alien technology guns up.
Okay. If you enjoyed the video game and you enjoyed the aspect of the squad level real-time combat, and you come into the board game expecting that you're not going to find it. And I know he kind of already said that a little bit, but I wanted to reiterate it here because that's how I kind of came into it. I love the original game. I love the newer versions of the game. I play it on my PS3 all the time. Well, not so much recently, but I have played it a lot. And I came into it expecting a little bit of that, but what I got was more of the command room scenario where you're trying to juggle this country with this country, and alien UFOs have showed up over here, and you have to get your satellites up in the air, and that's the part of the game that I didn't really enjoy that much. However, I really enjoyed XCOM the board game simply because it is a difficult co-op with a theme that I liked. See, if I've downed other co-ops in the past like Ghost Stories, and what's another one? It's slipping my mind right now, but I've downed games like Ghost Stories for being very hard to beat. But I think it's possible that the reason I downed those is because I wasn't very interested in the theme. Here I am interested in the theme, so I'm willing to accept that it's a little bit more difficult because it fits the theme. It is difficult to beat the video game, and it's easy to run out of money, and it's easy to lose a guy's on a mission from one stupid move. So I can accept all of that. But just understand that it's not like the video game. It has the same theme, but it integrates the video game theme well, but it's definitely different. So I'm going to go ahead and give this 2 sniper rifles up because this is a good cooperative board game that captures the feeling of the video game very well in a broad sense. And if you enjoy the video game, I think you'll enjoy this.
All right, that's XCOM, the board game.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.